Paracas is a desert area located on the southern coast of Peru, and its name is known throughout the world thanks to a great discovery. In 1928, the Peruvian archaeologist Julio Tello found a necropolis with remains of individuals of an ancient civilization. Some were more than 3,000 years old and presented a feature never seen before. Their skulls were elongated and larger than normal. In total, more than 300 evidences were found of a culture that was quite different from what had been found so far. Since then, efforts have been made to find an explanation for these skulls. According to the official version, they have been artificially lengthened since birth. However, the researcher L.A. Marzulli observed that the position of the foramen magnum is completely different than that of a normal human being and is smaller, so there was no entablature of the skull at birth since it is a genetic trait. In addition, these skulls have no sagittal suture, have more pronounced cheekbones, and eye sockets are different from those of normal humans, and sometimes retain traces of red or blonde hair, which are not typical of Native Americans. Some even have a cranial volume up to 25% larger and 60% heavier than conventional human skulls. But the most important finding was that of a pregnant woman. Curiously, both she and her fetus had an elongated skull. For experts, this is one of the best evidences that prove that they have not been artificially modified but that their shape is from birth. Both Marzulli and the biologist Brian Forster and other Peruvian and foreign experts have been trying for 5 years to get the DNA results of the Paracas skulls. For this they had to send them to laboratories in the USA, since this type of analysis is done by comparing the DNA samples with others already registered in a database. That is, speculations about the possible extraterrestrial origin of the Paracas skulls could never be confirmed based on the comparison of known DNA. Recently, Brian Forster has advanced part of the results they have been pursuing for so many years. Forster explains that DNA samples were extracted from 18 elongated skulls, and they have only received results from 12. From these 18 skulls, 58 samples were extracted and have been analyzed mainly by 2 laboratories at Lakehead University in Canada and the University of California, USA. The only information provided to the geneticists was that the samples came from an ancient mummy, so as not to induce preconceived ideas. Samples were also sent to a 3rd laboratory at Santa Cruz University in California, USA, but, inexplicably, of the 18 samples submitted, no results were obtained. To this, Forster commented, "We are not sure if this is true, or if the results were so strange that they decided to hide them." As for the DNA of Native Americans, they belong to the haplogroup or population genetic group, framed within Group A, B, C, and D, so obviously their ancestors should share haplogroups. Brian explains, "The results we got from 4 elongated skulls were haplogroup B. This shows that they were Native American ancestors, but the other samples were not. The most common haplogroup that is repeated in the analyses is U2E and also H, and within that H1A and H2. Looking for the area where this type of haplogroup predominates, the U2E and H1S, leads us to a place between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea, in the Caucasus Mountains, which is very intriguing. In other words, the Paracas people came from the Middle East and at some point moved to Peru. But why? I believe that 3,000 years ago, the ancestors of Paracas traveled south, through Iraq and Iran to the Persian Gulf, where they embarked and set course for the coast of Peru. We are facing a migratory pattern because these people, like some natives of the Caspian Sea and Black Sea area, have red hair, white skin, and green eyes, something that also seems to correspond to the elongated skulls of Paracas. Forster points out that the elongated skulls, apart from being found in Paracas, Peru, have curiously also been found in the Black Sea area and Crimea. The Paracas culture is from 2,000 to 3,000 years ago, and the Crimean elongated skulls coincide in that period. He also emphasizes that there are date palms in Paracas, but there are none in the north or south of that city. Besides, nobody in that area eats them. They do not even use the palm leaves, however. In the Middle East, the date palm is one of the most important plants, both for its fruit and leaves. All this makes Brian think that they brought dates to Paracas. L.A. Marzulli believes that the inhabitants of Paracas are hybrids of the ancient Nephilim, the fallen angels mentioned in the Bible. Although this hypothesis may be controversial to many, the results of the DNA analysis are proof that the real history of the world we live in is quite different from what we have been told. This would show that ancient peoples from Europe and the Near East moved to the Americas much earlier than previously believed. These results offer a new point of view of our past, something that cannot be ignored any longer. For perhaps, this is the most important evidence that proves that we have been visited in the past by non-human beings.